He faked having Down syndrome, so women would come over and shower him and wipe his butt and do all that stuff. I guess he was into that, but he posed online as a fake mother, his fake mother named Amy. Amy said her son has Down syndrome and needs special assistance, so a lot of people came forward to try to help out. The post was specifically looking for women, which was, a little interesting here. This happened in 2018. This guy's name is Paul Anthony Menchaca. He went as far as to make the woman change his fake diapers that he was wearing, even though he didn't even need diapers. And he went as far as to defecate and pee himself in them. His mannerisms and the way he spoke, he would act like he had Down syndrome to these women until one got suspicious and followed him home, and then he acted completely normal. He was charged and found guilty of fraud and sexual abuse charges because it's just weird to do this. Many ask what the motive was behind all this. I think it's just maybe some weird fetish that he developed for himself. I have no idea. I'm just amazed at the length this guy would go just to have his weird fantasies satisfied. What do you guys think about this?
Scary animals that will haunt your nightmares. Let's go. When I first saw this animal, I thought it was extinct. This is a frilled shark, and it lives all across the world in deep waters. You can't tell me this thing's not an alien. This is a white-shouldered bat, and it lives all throughout the jungles of South America. It's nicknamed the Destroyer. This guy is a black-toothed dragonfish. They can grow up to over a foot long and live over a mile deep beneath the surface. And finally, we have the goblin shark. These guys can grow over 12 feet long and they live a mile below the ocean's surface. If you learned something, leave a like and maybe even a follow.
Here is some scary proof that witches used to roam Earth. Bonnie Bennett be like, what we believe to be an ancient spellbook was recently found and no one can decipher it nor knows what it means. E.g. witches! This is the trippy one. A 4,000-year-old tomb was recently found here in Wales. And from what scientists found within the tomb, it is believed to have belonged to an ancient sorcerer. Fuck, it's so cool! Even hieroglyphics from ancient Egypt seem to depict levitation, which I guess you could consider magic, and how the fuck would they have known anything about that? So much so that people believe that levitation and magic is actually how they built the pyramids. Just like the sorcerer's tomb I mentioned earlier, other similar tombs have been found all around the world with ancient witch jewelry inside of them, believed to contain magic themselves. And finally, a very famous witch hunter from the 19th century. Surely you don't dedicate your life to what he did if you don't know something that we don't. Do you believe? Let me know. Eli!
He walked into the ring undefeated and never walked out the same. Today, August 13th of 2026, professional boxer Pritchard Colon passed away at just 33 years old. But to understand why his death is hitting the boxing world so hard, you have to go back more than a decade to one fight that completely changed his life. Pritchard Colon was a Puerto Rican boxer who was considered a rising star in the sport. By 23 years old, he had built a professional record of 16 wins and 0 losses, with 13 of those wins coming by knockouts. Then on October 17th of 2015, Pritchard stepped into the ring at Eagle Bank Arena in Fairfax, Virginia to fight Terrell Williams. And throughout the fight, Pritchard began complaining that Terrell was hitting him in the back of the head. These are known as rabbit punches, and blows to the back of the head are illegal in boxing because of how dangerous they can be. Pritchard reportedly signaled to referee Joe Cooper that he was being hit there, but the fight continued. By the 7th round, things became even more concerning. After another illegal blow to the back of his head, Pritchard went on the ground and grabbed his head in obvious pain. This time, the referee deducted 1 point from Terrell. Pritchard was examined by ringside physician Dr. Richard Ashby, and he told the doctor that he felt dizzy and the back of his head hurt, but despite that, he was still cleared to continue fighting. The match continued until the end of the 9th round. Pritchard's corner mistakenly believed that the fight was over and they removed his gloves. By the time they realized there was supposed to be another round, too much time had passed by and Pritchard was disqualified. But once he got back to his dressing room, it became clear that something was seriously wrong. Pritchard became dizzy, started vomiting, and eventually collapsed. He was rushed to the hospital where doctors discovered a massive bleed on the left side of his brain known as subdural hematoma. Pritchard underwent emergency brain surgery, but he didn't wake up. He remained in a coma for 221 days. When he eventually emerged from the coma, he had suffered from catastrophic neurological damage. He could no longer live independently. He required around-the-clock care, and his boxing career was over. And you might be wondering what happened to the people that were involved in the fight. The state of Virginia launched an investigation regarding Terrell, the referee, and the physician, but none of them got in any kind of trouble. Pritchard's family strongly disagreed how his fight had been handled. In 2017, his parents filed a lawsuit for more than $50 million alleging negligence that surrounded the care that Pritchard received that night. For the next decade, Pritchard's family stood by his side as he went through therapy and rehabilitation. His story became known around the world, and today, more than 10 years after the fight that changed everything, Pritchard's father announced that his son had passed away. Pritchard entered that ring as an undefeated 23-year-old boxer who had a whole career ahead of him, but he was never able to fight professionally again.
What are demons? They are spiritual forces at work behind all the evil in the world. They work for the devil and are under the devil. They hate what is good. They hate God's children. They possess people and cause them to make wrong choices and do evil. Children of God have power over them through Jesus Christ. If you believe that God has given you power over evil forces and demons, type Jesus in the comments and share this with someone.
Top 4 zodiac signs that are liars. And yeah, everybody lies here and there, but these signs are known to be liars. Number 1, Libras. Now, I will say this. Libras aren't like liars in the sense that they don't lie about serious stuff, but they lie about petty stuff. And they do it so often that they are just known to be liars. Like, say you know a Libra that's on a diet and you ask them, oh, what you ate today? They'll be like, a salad, knowing they just left American Deli and they had a 10-piece and fries. Number 2, a Leo. Leos are lions. Lions. A Leo gonna lie really to just keep their reputation up or to ruin your reputation. They're all about perception. So if a lie is needed, a lie will be told by a Leo. Number 3 is an Aries. So usually an Aries lies if they're upset about something or it's out of malice. But they so bold, if you call them out on the lie, they gonna tell you they lying and then be like, now what? Number 4, and I know y'all thought y'all was safe, but y'all knew I was gonna say y'all name. Y'all knew, right? Y'all knew, right? Gemini. Gemini wake up lying. Like, and sometimes they even forget they told the lie or they believe the lie that they told. Like, it's weird. They're wild cards. I promise y'all. Geminis are like unpredictable. Like, if a Gemini told you the sky is blue, go check it. It's probably red. And honestly, now that I'm really thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and put Gemini's number 2. And then I'm going to bump the other 2 down. And Scorpio and Cancer, y'all could have made the list because y'all be lying too. But y'all usually lie when y'all feelings are hurt. So I can understand that. But y'all could have made this list.
There's a lot of good happening in the world right now. This is so cool. It was a video that was titled Human Imagination Beats AI, and the way they did this, I'm very impressed. There's a mosquito factory in Colombia that's producing 40 million mosquitoes a week. These mosquitoes in particular are carrying a bacteria that prevents them from transmitting viruses to humans. By mating with wild populations, they are spreading this trait to more mosquitoes, and mosquitoes are the #1 way people pass away in the world. Correction, #1 death because of animals in the world. This student at his high school graduation was surprised when his surgeon who saved his life from cancer showed up at his graduation. There's a new village in Scotland that is offering homeless people a place to live for free in return of just working with the community inside of this tiny village. Jamaica's homicide rate has dropped by 40%, and this is driven by a almost double increase in police tip-offs. A study from earlier this year says that littering has declined by 34% across all of America since 2020. I'm Adore.
Stop scrolling because this has to be one of the wildest skinwalker encounters ever. A man named Jake said that while driving through northern Arizona late one night, he stopped at a small gas station in the middle of nowhere. He was exhausted, so he left his car running while he went inside to grab a coffee. There was no one else around except an old Navajo man working behind the counter and a white pickup truck parked near the edge of the lot. As Jake was paying, the cashier suddenly looked behind him toward the windows. "Is that your car?" he said. Jake turned around and saw a man standing beside his driver's door. He dropped his coffee and ran outside. But before he could reach the car, the stranger jumped inside and took off down the highway. Jake immediately called the police. About 20 minutes later, an officer arrived and asked what the thief looked like. Jake told him that he couldn't really tell. The guy had been hunched over and seemed unusually tall. That's when the Navajo cashier interrupted. He looked at Jake and said quietly, "I don't think that was a man." Jake thought he was joking, but the cashier pulled up the security footage. The figure had apparently come from behind the gas station, from the woods. At first, it was moving through the parking lot on all fours. Then, halfway toward Jake's car, it stood upright. Jake watched as it opened the driver's door, climbed inside, and drove away. Police eventually found Jake's car abandoned several miles down the highway. There was no sign of whoever or whatever had stolen it, but Jake said the officer found something strange in the dirt beside the driver's door. Tracks. They looked like coyote prints, and there wasn't a single human footprint anywhere around the car.
This is the gruesome case of Kimberly Proctor. On March 2010, 18-year-old Kimberly was lured to her friend's house. She was tortured, sexually assaulted, sodomized, and then stuffed in a freezer to die. This all happened in British Columbia, Canada, when Kimberly was new to Pacific Secondary School and she met 16-year-old Cruz Wellwood and 17-year-old Cameron Moffat. The two boys were best friends and they were known to be troubled teens, especially Cruz, who his father was already in jail for multiple essays and the murder of a 16-year-old girl. In February 2009, Cruz posted a blog titled "Early Warning Signs of a Serial Killer." And then he listed 14 common traits and wrote the following: "The peculiar thing is I meet all 14 criteria." Around this time, Kimberly started dating a boy named Zach, and after a few months, their relationship ended. And that's when Kimberly went to Cruz and Cameron for some comfort, but the two boys wanted to date her now that she was single, but she wasn't interested in being in a new relationship. The two boys felt rejected and lashed out at Kimberly through MSN, calling her nasty names and even went as far as telling her that she was gonna die. But you see, what no one knew, especially Kimberly, was that Cameron and Cruz were not joking. It's been said that the boys were into very dark things. They drank blood together, they watched sadistic porn, and they fantasized about SA and bondage. So not long after, Cruz and Cameron messaged Kimberly again and asked her if she wanted to come over so that they can apologize and talk in person. While Cruz was messaging Kimberly, he was also talking to Cameron, and they spoke about all the disturbing things they were going to do to Kimberly if she agreed to meet with them. Kimberly really did see the good in everyone, so she agreed to meet, and the next morning at around 10:30 a.m., she went to Cruz's house. The two boys agreed that the code to attack Kimberly was to say, "I think I'm going to make some KD," which in Canada just means mac and cheese. When they tackled Kimberly, they first tied her hands and ankles with tape and then stuffed a sock in her mouth. They SA'd and beat her for hours while doing other very disturbing things to her. They then put her body in a freezer, and Cruz went on his computer to send Kimberly a message in order to build himself a cover-up story in case he was questioned by police. Later that evening, Cameron asked his ex-girlfriend to come over, possibly to do the same thing to her, but luckily she didn't fall for it.
Back in the 1930s, some people believed that giant humans used to exist after they found fossilized teeth of this extinct ape, because they looked so similar to human teeth, just way bigger. But later fossil findings of complete mandibles determined that this was a completely different species, Gigantopithecus. They were 10 feet tall and over 1,000 pounds. They lived for 1 million years up until about 100,000 years ago. So it's possible that early humans came across them. Most of their fossil remains have been found in caves in southern China. Scientists believe they went extinct after cooler temperatures drastically impacted their habitat and their food.
Make no mistake, this was a thirst trap, but it was a thirst trap for turtles. Let me explain. So I average about 2.3 thirst traps a year, and since it was my birthday, I figured I'd just get 2 birds with 1 stone. I could post a picture that, let's be honest, I was gonna post anyway. If I'm gonna lift heavy 200 days a year, best believe I'm gonna pop out for at least 2. But also save some turtles in the process. Like, did you know the turtle from Finding Nemo almost went extinct? But as of last October, the green sea turtle was taken off the endangered list. So I set up 3 GoFundMes for 3 turtle organizations I believe in. By the way, if you're asking why I'm petting them, they have nerve endings on their shells. They can feel all of that. They aren't in their shell, they are their shell. But yeah, 3 FundMes. Sea Turtle Conservancy is the world's oldest sea turtle research group, and their work in Costa Rica is the longest running sea turtle project on Earth. Sea Turtle Recovery is the only sea turtle rehab clinic in New Jersey, so I'm biased. And Turtle Survival Alliance is like the gold standard. They're like the they're like the Anne Hathaway of protecting turtles and tortoises. We're talking about sustained excellence. So yeah, if you click here or here and you want to help turtles, you can pick one of these 3. I've already donated 500 beans to each, but I will commit to coughing up an extra 5,000 to whichever one raises the most. This isn't sponsored, by the way. This is purely an exercise in free will. And if you'd like to join me either by donating or sharing the hashtag and posting your own turtle thirst trap, whatever of your own, if you're of age, we're not doing that. That'd be cool. Just to be clear, only for turtles though. And online validation. I have a girl and she can fight. Like jujitsu. I'm not getting put in a Netflix doc for anyone. The more you know, and now you know why I wear a hat.
I thought this was really absurd, but just hear me out, right? There was a massive footprint found in the side of a hill in Africa, and this footprint was 4 feet high. And the archaeologists who found this said it was in between 400 million and 3 billion years old. And this foot would belong to something 27 feet tall. But what's crazy about it is like when you step in mud, the mud comes up, right? Just like how it did when you could see like where the mud came up when this foot stepped in it. Then they found a giant finger in Egypt that was 38 centimeters long and should belong to something that is 16 feet tall. And I would also like to mention the fact that a bunch of these like cavemen and all these paintings have giants in them. So are giants real or just a myth? Let me know down in the comments.
Andrew Tate and his scumbag brother were arrested yet again, and their arrest has ties to the Epstein network. This is something very important we have to talk about. So as you've probably seen by now, Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan Tate, 2 big manosphere influencers, were arrested yesterday in Miami, Florida on rape and human trafficking charges. This is not the first time that Andrew and Tristan have been arrested on similar charges. I think the world should know by now that these 2 are disgusting human beings. I mean, I don't understand how an alleged rapist and human trafficker still has a massive platform, but that's for another video. But in the days before their arrest, Andrew and Tristan Tate were seen partying with an important member of the alleged Epstein network. That guy's name is Paolo Zampoli. Now, Zampoli is an infamous figure. He's currently got a position in the United States government. He's very good friends with Donald and Melania Trump. And according to some reporting, it was Paolo Zampoli who introduced Donald and Melania, even though I firmly believe 1000% that is a lie. He helped introduce them, but I think Epstein was the one that brought those 2 together. Anyways, Paolo Zampoli is a guy who's been implicated time and time again in the Epstein world. He is involved in the worlds of modeling and fashion. I mean, I could do an entire 10-part deep dive series about Paolo Zampoli. Just know that this guy was allegedly plugged into the network. Paolo Zampoli, though, made his way into the news cycle earlier this year when it was discovered that he had actually intervened and asked ICE to deport the mother of his child, a woman who allegedly was about to come forward with Epstein allegations. That woman was a woman named Amanda Ungara, who indeed was deported after Paolo Zampoli basically asked ICE to deport her, and she is an Epstein survivor. And she has made, just in the minimal claims that she's made, some pretty shocking claims about Epstein and Trump and Paolo Zampoli and how they were all tied together. So it's very interesting. Why would an innocent man ask for the mother of his child to be deported from the country right as she's coming forward with allegations dealing with Jeffrey Epstein in the midst of the Epstein files being released earlier this year? So that's just one thing out of many things you should know about Paolo. Something interesting to note, though, is that Paolo Zampoli is good friends with Andrew and Tristan Tate. For example, here's a screenshot of Zampoli on Andrew Tate's podcast. Here's a link to the episode where he's interviewing him. And I just want to remind you that the Tate brothers are charged with human trafficking and rape. That's what they have been arrested for twice now in 2 different countries. And this guy, Paolo Zampoli, not only likes to hang out with Andrew and Tristan Tate, but he was just hanging out with them in the days leading up to their arrest. And this is the same guy who is serving in the US government, who allegedly asked ICE to deport an Epstein accuser who is the mother of his child, who was about to come forward with some really dark stuff involving Zampoli, Epstein, and Trump. If you think this is all just a coincidence, let me burst your bubble. It's not. I'm going to stay on this story, though, so follow along for more updates as I receive them.
You will never look at Tinkerbell the same way.
Fairies have been depicted in the media as kind and gentle, but the truth is, different cultures throughout history have experienced them, and they are far from kind. Redcaps are known to have razor-sharp teeth and claws, which they use to eat humans. They will then mop up the blood with their own cap. Beanfion fairies are known to lure children to lakes and ponds. Once there, these fairies will push them in. Farikas get excited when someone is near the end. People have said that they have heard them speaking outside their homes. Will-o'-the-wisp are known to get people lost in the forest. Fairies think it's fun and games, but for the people, it's a total nightmare. Fairies have been documented for centuries all around the world, but one thing is for sure, you would not want to meet one.
This is the continuation of the video about the woman who found a strange book hidden under the floor of her house. A book that experts believe is more than 250 years old. For those who missed the first part, she discovered it after noticing one loose wooden board. When she pulled it up, the book was wedged beneath the floor. It didn't look like a normal book at all. Its pages were extremely thick, and the edges looked almost golden. At first, everything seemed harmless. The book had a small lock and was filled with old portraits, most likely of people who once lived in that house. But things took a frightening turn when she kept flipping through it. She realized the images weren't just random portraits. They were old photographs of her house. The same rooms, the same layout, but completely empty. And that's when she noticed something disturbing. In every single photo, dark shadows appeared in the corners of the rooms. Not reflections, not lighting issues. Shadows that felt intentional. She said looking at those images gave her an intense feeling of unease. Like the photos weren't just documenting the house, but watching it. Curious and unsettled, she decided to check under other floorboards in the house she had bought. And that's when she found something even worse. I'm about to release the final part of this story, so stay alert, because this is where it gets truly disturbing. What do you think she found next? Follow so you don't miss it, if you're not afraid to get scared at night.
You have no idea. Do you know what this statue is? Do you know who this is? If you believe you know, write it in the comments below, but I warn you, some of you, when you find out who this is, won't be able to accept it. Pause the video, comment below, then come back. You had time. Some people put Baal. Some people put Zeus. Most people probably put the devil. But let me ask you a question. Is there anywhere, I challenge someone to go find somewhere in the Bible where the devil is described as a humanoid being with two horns on his head with red skin. You won't find it because many of you have been misled. You see, we live in a backwards world where left is right and right is left. In the Old Testament, there is no one seen. And the Son of God who has that title is Yahweh's servant. Why has no one taught you this? Why aren't they teaching you this in church? It's because these beings are even more real than they would like you to believe. The statue behind me is the concept art for a statue of Yahweh. That's right, the God of the Bible. But many of you are thinking, didn't Yahweh say don't build any statues of him? Something like that, but not for the reasons you think. You see, all the gods are real, and there's a way to track them throughout time and history. This is called abstract history. If you want to know the history of Yahweh, the real God of the Bible, and you want to know how he changed the world forever, you need to read a book called World War Gods, the biography of Yahweh. The free audiobook is in a link at the top of the page. Some of you are wondering, well, why does he even have horns? Go read Numbers 23:22. If you have disagreements or questions, that's fine. I go live at 8 p.m. Central on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and at 9 p.m. Central on Fridays. The free audiobook is in a link at the top of the page. I love you all. Peace. I'll see you in the live.
The fairies in Pakistan. In the northwest of Pakistan, you'll find the land known as Chitral and its native people, the Chitralis. Their mythology speaks of many creatures, including fairies, which they refer to as Peris. Now this is the Terechmir, the highest mountain in the Hindu Kush mountain range. The native Chitralis refer to this place as Peristan, which means land of the fairies, as they believe this is where the kingdom of the fairies is located. Now, a native animal to the region is something called the markhor. Here's a video of it in Chitral. The Chitralis believe that each herd of wild markhor has a fairy as its shepherd. And to hunt a mighty markhor, you must first gain the permission of the fairy by giving it an offering. If the fairy refuses your request and you decide to hunt the markhor anyways, then you will feel the wrath of the fairies. It's also believed that whenever the Chitralis go into war, the fairies fight alongside them. Every time Chitral has faced a battle, the fairies begin playing their drums as they march down from the mountains. It's also believed that fairies and humans in Chitral have been marrying each other for millennia. So many of the natives of Chitral might have some fairy blood. Also, Chitral is the part of Pakistan where you will find the Kalash people, who are also known as the mountain pagans. They follow an ancient belief system of many gods and share a lot of this mythology.
You're not a Libra, you're not a Scorpio. Get off of astrology. Zodiac signs is demonic. Your identity cannot be in Christ if it's in Zodiac. You can't be a Scorpio and then you're Christian claiming that you stomp on snakes and scorpions. How can you identify as an Aquarius, Marine Kingdom, and then say that you're from the kingdom of God? Behind every single Zodiac, there's a demon. And all you have to do to give legal access to this demon into your life is simply to identify with one of these. But astrology is just the space and the stars. No, that is astronomy. Astrology is when you mix spirituality into astronomy and it becomes something else. History time. Astrology started in ancient Babylon. We're already off to a bad start because you already know what God did with Babylon. They were evil and a nation of people literally against God. They used it to predict the future and divination, which the Bible says is witchcraft. Guess who adopts astrology? Ancient Greece and Egypt. The Bible calls them magicians, warlocks, sorcerers. The Greek create the 12 zodiacs that you know today. They assign life paths to each of the 12. Then Egypt is like, oh, bet we gonna make 36 subdivisions, meaning you could be a different Libra than your friend who's a different Libra than you are. Not just that, but we're gonna add rising signs. You could be a Taurus with a rising Gemini. Then sneaking in comes Claudius Ptolemy. This man wrote the Tetrabiblos. Right? This is like the Bible of astrology. He done popularized that. Now we got rising suns and moons and all that. Now there's degrees. Aquarius with a rising Pisces 20th degree. Now the dang zodiacs have temperatures. And then here's like, there's more. Boom, and adds the natal chart. It impacts your fate, your destiny, your personality, and events in your life. He said all of this is based on your location of birth, time of birth, the weather it was, and the date. 17th and 18th century, the scientific revolution. Now people started to think again. They're like, yeah, astronomy, cool. Astrology, not scientific. We discredit that. That is not science. It's whack. It's false. And then the late 1900s. Pop culture done revives astrology crazy. Puts it in TV shows and magazines. If you was born in the 90s, you already know. They added retrograde. They added things like compatibility. Who would you marry based on your sign? They added it to relationships now. Oh, Libras don't get along with Scorpios if it's not gonna work out. Dang, you a Pisces? Gosh darn it. God didn't need help from a cookie cutter mold. Oh, if you're born in this location at this time, at this weather, on this date, then stamp, boom. God created you with a purpose. He knew your name before he even formed you in your mother's womb. He knows the numbers of hairs on your head. That's how detailed God is. That's how purposeful and intentional God is about you. It's only one like you. Take it off your bio, stop identifying with zodiacs, and repent and renounce it in Jesus' name.
They did not teach you about this crazy history in school. Since Abraham Lincoln's assassination in 1865, every president after this has been alive at some point at the same time as Herbert Hoover. Scientists dumped crushed dry ice into a hurricane in 1947, and it actually changed the direction of the hurricane. The singer Michelle Phelps was shocked when she went to see a small new science fiction film called Star Wars and unexpectedly spotted her acquaintance Harrison Ford on screen. She said that she didn't even know Harrison Ford was an actor. She literally was in the theater when she spotted him on screen and said, "That's my pot dealer." For hundreds of years, people used to actually sleep in 2 different sleeps instead of one entire sleep all night. They would wake up at midnight and then just write or just relax, meditate, smoke, and then they would go back to sleep. But then what changed this was the Industrial Revolution, which pretty much created what we have today as the normal 9-to-5 work lifestyle. Napoleon hated small talk, and he was very well known to just walk away mid-conversation if he was bored. Maybe we could all learn a thing or two from him and just being on.
Somebody had used a belt to attach Barry and Honey's necks to this bar. That's what was holding them upright. And on top of that, they had been dead for a while. Rigor mortis had already set in and their bodies were cold to the touch. They believed that Barry had killed Honey, hit her in the face, dragged her body downstairs, tied her up, and then once she was dead or dying, he killed himself. Now, for a lot of people, especially the people who hadn't known Barry and Honey personally, that theory made enough sense to be believable, so a lot of people just accepted the police's theory. But Barry and Honey's children and their close friends, they did not accept this. For one, they knew that Barry just didn't have the strength to kill Honey. He was older and honestly not in great shape. Honey, on the other hand, she worked out regularly. She wasn't ripped like a bodybuilder or anything like that, but she definitely had decent muscle, and she was definitely strong enough that if Barry had attacked her, she would have been able to fight him off. However, the autopsy showed that the 2 of them had been strangled, and they had also likely died on the night of Wednesday, December 13th, meaning that their bodies had been sitting in that pool room for about 36 hours before they were discovered. Even more strange, the marks around their necks were so fine, so thin, that the medical examiner realized that they hadn't been strangled with the belts that were holding them up and attaching their bodies to that bar. It actually looked as though they had been strangled with a rope instead, and if not a rope, something very similar. The marks around their wrist also looked like they might have been from zip ties. However, the police didn't see any zip ties at the scene or anywhere in the home. Now, the autopsy never revealed what caused the injuries to Honey's face, and the medical examiner also couldn't tell whether their deaths were from a murder or a suicide. So, the police stuck with their original theory, that Barry had killed Honey and then killed himself. For an entire month, they kept saying that their original theory was right. They were still treating it as a murder-suicide. And in fact, that didn't change until January 26th, 2018. That's when the Toronto police held a press conference and announced that they now believed that Barry and Honey had died in a double homicide.
I thought it'd be interesting to see what murderers fall under my astrological sign, Aries. So I wanted to see which ones are. And so here are a list of killers who are Aries. Oh, good. Keith Hunter Jesperson, also known as the Happy-Faced Killer. Great. Doesn't look so happy. Ugh. Attitude. Alexander Pachushkin, otherwise known as the Chessboard Killer. He murdered 49 people in Russia. Oh, not this guy. This is the Iceman, Richard Kuklinski. I think he was only convicted of like 1 or 2 murders, but he claimed to have killed like a whole bunch. Oh. This guy looks like if Mr. Bean had a baby with Margaret Thatcher. That's Donald Harvey. He was one of those angels of death people in the hospital who killed a bunch of patients. 37 of them, to be exact. Oh. Old-timey Aries is Jane Toppan? She killed 31 patients and it was nicknamed Jolly Jane. Well, I guess we have that in common. I'm fat, so I am also jolly, by definition. Ah, not Herbert. Herbert Mullen. 13 people killed. You don't see that name anymore, Herbert. Like, no one is named Herbert anymore. Howard Stern? No. That's John Paul Franklin. He was a racist white supremacist. He targeted interracial couples and killed anywhere between 7 to 22 people. Ooh la la, the Casanova Killer. Paul John Knowles. Killed somewhere between 18 to 35 people. And he did so while going across the country on a trip. This guy was nicknamed the Broomstick Killer. That sounds gross. Kenneth McDuff. So he was on death row. His sentence was then commuted to life in prison with parole. He was then paroled. Then he was convicted of other crimes, which he was sentenced to death again. Not everybody learns their lesson. Christopher Wilder, aka the Beauty Queen Killer. He too killed multiple people. Darren Dion Van, he murdered at least 7 people. Oh, God, he kind of looks like me in a way. Wayne Bowden. He was nicknamed the Vampire Rapist. Ugh. He killed several people and he would bite them. Oh, look, it's Eric Harris, one of the Columbine shooters. He's also an Aries. Ah, not Captain Burger King Bowl Cut. Dylan Roof. He's also an Aries. Ugh. So, if all of these people are Aries, am I also a serial killer too, or is that how the logic works? Because I'm 41 and I haven't started. So if I'm supposed to do this, you know, it's like I need to know if this is something that's required of Aries to do, or what. Anyway, get back with me. What about your signs?
Terrifying facts you never knew. You can actually die from laughter. On average, people escape death about 6 times throughout their whole life. More than 80% of the ocean is unexplored, meaning there's a chance there are huge and unsettling creatures lurking in the depths. In 2018, a racist couple adopted 6 children, but get this, they were all of color, and then drove them off a cliff along with themselves. The reason was because they adopted those children just to abuse them. And when they figured out that police were slowly catching on and that they were about to be caught for their abusive behavior, they didn't want to get in trouble for their crimes. May those children rest in peace. NASA recently put a warning out that there might be an internet apocalypse that could disable the internet for months. Now I know some of y'all are like, good, we need humanity away from the internet anyway. They need a break from their phones. But no, I don't think you understand. It would be much worse. Everything you use to live right now needs internet. Planes can't fly. Cash registers at stores cannot function. Governments couldn't run either, because everything they keep track with is on the internet. Your money would be stuck in banks. Say goodbye, because banks need the internet. How do you think they keep track of your funds? Oh, and don't even think about contacting the police. They need the internet. And you're like, Chloe, what about my cell phone service? Your phone providers need internet to function. Chaos will break out. Riots will go loose. People wouldn't have money, so they'll start stealing from stores. You think toilet paper disappearing was bad when COVID happened? Wait till everything in your local store is stolen. I'm not kidding you. It will be a full-on purge if the internet went out for months. So let's pray it doesn't happen. The CIA once came out with a weapon called the heart attack gun. That when used on a person, it gave that person symptoms and reactions of having a heart attack. So yeah, they could use this on you and people would never even know. They would just think you died of a heart attack. Scary to think about. In 2018, a boy named James was gifted an Elmo doll. As soon as he put the batteries in and turned on the Elmo doll said, "Kill James." Kill James? Kill James? This 8-month-old baby named Chow Bao is amazingly lucky to be alive. You see, his mother stabbed him 90 times because this 8-month-old baby bit her while she was breastfeeding. Some people do not deserve to be mothers. The Roman Emperor Nero once removed a young teen boy's dingleberries, dressed him in bride's clothing, and married him, all because the little boy resembled his deceased wife. The average person walks past 36 murderers in their lifetime. People's general happiness peaks at 21 and doesn't reach that level again until they retire. So if you're past the age of 21, you'll never be happy like you were again until you retire. In 1938, 835 sheep were killed instantly from one single lightning strike. A 46-year-old man found, hunted, and attacked a 13-year-old boy, all because the boy killed him too many times in Call of Duty. Over 50% of commercial pilots have admitted to falling asleep while flying a plane. Can't believe we ride those things and put our trust in the people we don't even know. Humans have a thing called a primal gaze detection system that can sense when someone is looking at them, even if not directly. So if you suddenly wake up in the middle of the night, it could be because somebody was watching you. Just think about that for a second. Like this video if you want a part 4.
Breaking news, they've arrested a serial killer in Pennsylvania. Here's the official definition of what an SK is. It is an individual who has taken the life of 3 or more people with at least a month of a cooling off period in between the crimes. In this case, everything started on June 19th of this year during a traffic stop. A park ranger initiated the traffic stop after they said the male in the vehicle was threatening the female. The male inside the vehicle was 44-year-old Eugene. He then presented the officer a fake FBI and DEA badge, whereas the female inside the vehicle presented a fake ID of that of a woman who went missing in 2023. Eugene was arrested following the traffic stop, and authorities then got a warrant to search his home. The amount of warrants on the home totaled over 90. Inside of the home, amongst other things, they found 5 urns which contained human remains. In addition to that, they found over 600,000 pictures on multiple digital devices found in the home, in addition to 70,000 videos and over 10,000 writings and manuscripts. Some of those videos and images showed 2 missing women. They said Mirabelle and Gabrielle appeared to be alive in some of the photos. However, after going through more, then they appeared to be deceased. The bodies of the 2 missing women have not been located. Without the bodies, the medical examiner cannot create a death certificate nor determine a cause of passing. Mirabelle was last seen in February of 2018. Gabrielle was last seen in September of 2012. Authorities have notified next of kin of the 2 women being deceased. Now back to the day of the arrest, when the woman inside of the vehicle with Eugene gave an ID that belonged to a missing woman. That individual was 35-year-old Blair. Blair has been missing since 2023. She was a home health aide that worked at the home of Eugene and his father. Eugene's father was elderly and also lived at the home. Friends of Blair said that she told them that the man living in the home was a, quote, sociopath who talked about, quote, melting bodies and flushing them down the toilet. They also said that he and Blair had a dispute over money at some point. In 2023, she then vanished from her Philly neighborhood. When authorities searched Eugene's home, they located Blair's bank cards. Authorities said that they do not believe we will ever see Blair again, and they do not believe she will be found. In addition to that, Amy also went missing, and she was the ex-wife of Eugene's father. She was last seen in June of 2016. However, Eugene says that his father is responsible for her going missing. Eugene's father passed away in 2025. Inside of the home, they also found more than 20 containers with, quote, unknown substances in them. They have all been taken to a lab in Chicago for testing. In July of this year, they excavated sewer pipes and lateral lines underneath the home. Neighbors of Eugene said that he used to, quote, lurk in the back shed doing, quote, I don't know what. That same neighbor also stated that her husband got into an argument with Eugene because he pointed security cameras directly at their bathroom window. Inside of the home, they also found documents referencing Ted Bundy. Authorities also said they believe that there may be more missing women connected to this case. They said this case is very complex and will take time to unfold. And at this time, they said they have only gone through about 5 to 7% of the digital devices. Eugene has been held behind bars since his arrest in June. Authorities also stated the investigation regarding the home will continue. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.